Good evening. Welcome to our November City Council meeting here. At this time, we'll convene the meeting and have roll call vote, please.
Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Here. At this time, Pledge of Allegiance, please. They roll away on us here. So at this time, we have some proclamations and presentations. And the first one, very special evening, we have our neighbor mayor from Pacifica, Marianne Neihart, who's just been a huge supporter of San Mateo County and the coast side. And we don't get her to our meeting very often, but she's jumped out of a meeting to be here for us, and she works very hard in her private life for all of us veterans in America too, Marianne. So thank you for your dedication to all of us. Now, we don't get too many chances to say nice things about you, so and your support Farmers Market in Pacifica also. So go for it, Madam Mayor.
Forgot where I was. Mayor Mueller.
What about the Farmer John thing?
Yeah, well, what can I say? Anyway, good evening, council members, Mayor Mueller. I am here and for the public to express our appreciation and to say goodbye to somebody that I know has one more meeting, but unfortunately we do our reorganization about the time you're doing your reorganization, so we can't be here. So I'm coming a little bit early, and this is for Naomi Patridge. Councilmember Patridge, you have been a champion for the coast. I cannot say how much of an honor it has been to serve with you. And as a result, I wanted to come and present to you a little recognition from our city. So if you don't mind, Naomi Patridge has served as a member of the Half Moon Bay City Council from 1985 to 2001. Our city clerks got together, so I know all these things. 7 terms as mayor, and again from 2005 to 2014, serving 2 terms as mayor. I can't even begin to list all the appointments and elected offices that you have served in, from the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, LAFCO Commission, the San Mateo County Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Congestion Management, an Environmental Quality Committee, the San Francisco Community Airport Roundtable, the San Mateo County Airport Land Use Committee, the Criminal Justice Council, the Regional Planning Commission. I read all of these, and there's more. Mainly because there's so much more to being a council member than these meetings. The representation you put forward for your city is absolutely outstanding. Whereas Naomi is also volunteering her time to many civic and local organizations. Half Moon Bay Girls Softball League, the Pumpkin Festival, needless to say, that's the envy of lots of people. The Portuguese Cultural Center, the Cabrillo, you've been a charter member for SCEA. You also were Half Moon Bay Chamber of Commerce, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the list goes on there as well. Naomi, your unique sensitivity for doing what is best for the entire community has earned the admiration and high regard of other civic leaders and area residents. And whereas there's one characteristic that distinguishes you, I can think of many, but you are truly a public servant, and it's your enormous capacity for hard work and your deep and genuine love of your community and the surrounding area. You've been a true friend on the coast. So I, Marianne Neihart, as Mayor of Pacifica, and on behalf of the entire City Council of Pacifica, express our sincere appreciation for your leadership, your dedication, your understanding, your perseverance, and your real collegiality in your service to your community and the manner in which you've carried out those duties. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next, moving on to our Half Moon Bay Library Annual Report with our amazing librarian who is giving up her time and energy constantly along with all of her dear friends. So welcome.
Okay. Thank you so much for providing me with the opportunity to talk about what happened at the Half Moon Bay Library and San Mateo County Library for the last year. I've provided you with a packet that gives you the annual report for the library, as well as the FAQs for the new building library, and then just if you're interested, information about the Friends of the Library, as well as a bumper sticker that says, if you build it, they will read. So that's my shameless plug. So now on to the presentation. So my name is Annie Malley. I'm the branch manager of the Half Moon Bay Library. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened in the last year. So the San Mateo County Library oversees the Half Moon Bay Library, as well as 10 other cities in the county and the unincorporated areas of the county. During the year, we were named a 4-star library by Library Journal, and this is the sixth consecutive year that that's happened. So we are 2nd in California and 12th nationally amongst our peer libraries. So some of the highlights for San Mateo County Library for the year: we stopped charging for holds, which is huge for us. So now any patron can borrow any library from throughout the county for free. We also initiated waiving fines on your birthday month, so you can get rid of all your overdue fines. As you can see, we really like giving stuff away. We don't like penalizing people. We also brought 3D printers into the branches, and on your desk is a small pumpkin that we printed out on our 3D printer. So if anybody is interested, on Fridays and Saturdays, people can come by and learn how to use the 3D printer. We just initiated downloadable e-movies, so you can get PBS movies in the Criterion collection, and so this goes with our e-books, our audiobooks, our e-magazines, so there's lots that you can get away from the library. And then starting January 2015, we're going to loan out Wi-Fi hotspots, so people who don't have access to the internet can borrow a Wi-Fi hotspot and access the internet from anywhere they bring it. So some of our numbers: 166,000 visits to the library, 296,000 items loaned, 14,000 questions answered, 22,000 people attended programs, and 22,402 hours of computer access. So we continue to be busy. A lot of our time during the year was spent working on the strategic planning process, so updating the conceptual plans for a new library. We met with over 2,000 residents, and many of you participated in our strategic planning process. And what came out of all those meetings was a 25,000 square foot library at the current site, which would have community room, digital classroom, homework center, literacy center, quiet study rooms, teen space, children's room, and more space. That is the key. We've been working in a 7,800 square foot space that is really too small for what we need for our community. Though we realize that we're in this space for a few more years, and so during the year we did our HUD upgrade to make the library ADA accessible. So the bathrooms were upgraded. We now have an entrance ramp so people in wheelchairs and strollers can actually enter the building without having to go into oncoming traffic, and ADA parking spaces. Probably my greatest pleasure is that we'd have changing tables now in the men's and women's restrooms, so children don't have to use my office as a changing room. So it's the small things in life that are really good. We also heard from the community when we did the community meetings that the highest priority went to children's room. And so we went ahead and reorganized the library to provide what was the adult fiction collection has become a children's room, and that's been huge, a huge change, though it's still not big enough for all that we need to, or all that we want to offer. So summer, it was great that we changed the room in time for summer, because summer was huge this year. We had 1,778 children signed up for summer learning. They received a book at sign up. So that was a lot of books that we gave out to the community, and all those books were funded by the Friends of the Half Moon Bay Library. We offered a variety of daily programs, science experiments and Legos and crafts. Because of our space issues, we fortunately worked with Rec and Park and the Boys and Girls Club and were able to offer our bigger programs at the Adcock Community Center. And so that was huge. So we didn't have to limit the number of people attending our programs. And then the prizes this year, they always receive books, but Giants tickets, which was a really good prize this year, gift cards to local shops, and a $1,000 college scholarship one lucky winner received. The Friends of the Library also received a grant from the Intero Foundation, and with that we were able to go to the local summer schools, and we provided weekly story time. We brought programs to the facilities. We signed all the kids up for summer reading, and we also visited the classes, both at El Granada and La Honda. We also initiated a summer reading camp. It was an 8-week-long camp, 5 days a week during the morning, free to the participants. And this was a state library grant that the county library received. And then we were able to hire the Peninsula YMCA and Revolution Foods to assist with the program. And all the students received lunch during the summer. We continued our school outreach, so we met with 742 students during the year, visited 222 classrooms. The biggest days would be Read for the Record, where in one day we read to 843 students. And then Day of the Dead, over 3 days, we had 602 students visit the library and look at our ofrendas and hear story time. And then we brought author Mac Barnett. Every year we try to bring an author to the coast side, and so he visited El Granada School. Literacy services, the county library just received a $175,000 grant from the Toyota Foundation. It's a Toyota Family Learning Grant, and with that, over 3 years, we'll provide family literacy programs to Spanish-speaking families, and they are actually meeting right now over at the Boys and Girls Club space over at Cunha. And this grant is happening at Half Moon Bay and East Palo Alto as well. And then adult literacy, San Mateo County Reads continued to support, offer 41 volunteer tutors that worked with 47 students. We couldn't do what we do without our volunteers. We have 73 active volunteers, which includes the literacy tutors, who contributed 5,223 hours, which is huge. And it's high school students and retirees and people with computer skills. It's just a really nice mix of people who are making an impact in our community. And so everything from people who make salsa for our salsa tasting to people who bring their dogs to let kids read to them. And then there's the Friends of the Half Moon Bay Library, which are just an amazing partner and are so So giving of their time. So currently we have 170, or they have 175 members. And during the past year, they provided $17,000 and 760 cents to support library programs. They also were huge in helping with the outreach to the community during the strategic planning process. And we really appreciate all that they do for us and that they do for the community. This is our favorite time of year, Food for Fines, just started on Monday. And so people who have fines can bring in food that we then pass on to Coastside Hope. We always collect the most food from any community, so we want to keep that going. Last year we collected 7,155 pounds of food, so it's a really great partnership. And then I just wanted to invite you to come to some of our upcoming programs. So this is what's happening this week. So you can tell that we're a really busy branch. We have a reading club tomorrow for 2nd through 5th graders who need help reading, and we have high school students and other volunteers help with them at 5 o'clock. We have one of our local patrons is a musician, and he's doing a musical story time tomorrow night and is going to be singing songs, children's songs from Mexico. California State Parks comes every month, and they're going to talk about coastal plants, and this is their Junior Ranger program, and that's on Thursday. If you want to learn how to use a 3D printer or have any other computer questions, we have a volunteer computer coach on Friday at 1 o'clock, and then again on Saturday at 10 o'clock. Friday family film is Free Birds and ready for Thanksgiving. And then on Saturday, we have a Spanish baby story time at 9:30 and Saturday crafts at 10 o'clock. So that is a week in the life of the library. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for all you do, and especially all that you've done during the planning for the new library. And I look forward to working with you all next year and seeing what exciting things come about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank all the friends. And do we pick up the new little bumper stickers at the library?
Oh, they're in your packet.
Oh, they're back. Oh, I didn't see it. I've been trying to focus with you here.
And if you need more,
Thank
you can pick up more in the library.
We got to get one on the tractor for sure. Very good. Thank you, and thanks for this pumpkin. It looked like Tom might have grown this one last year, and then he's gotten better every other year, but we have a new secret sauce for this one next year. So thank you, and we appreciate it very much. So moving on now, another positive comment will be from Sharice McHugh on economic development status, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Muller and Council. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. That's self-explanatory. Hit the arrow. I'm Sharice McHugh with the Half and Bay Coastside Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau, and I'm here to go over what we have done with the economic development money that you were so kind to award the Chamber with, a partnership between us and the city. I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the fact that we create a strong local economy all the time with or without economic development money. So it would take me several slides to put all of the things that we do to help create a strong economic economy, a local economy, but these are some of the things that I just thought that I would put up there for you. So one of the things that we were charged with after we did the survey and after we did all of the group meetings with all the different groups throughout the coastside, not just from the city, but throughout the coastside, came and gave us their opinions. One of the things that we were charged with was to create a strong economic development foundation. And one of the things that we're doing to help do that is, along with our iCoastside app that hopefully all of you have downloaded, We are putting together a rewards program that will be able to be used in each and every participating store. This has been a little bit slow to get off the ground, basically because where Fondini Partners is creating software that's never been created before. So instead of just having your Starbucks app to go in and get your rewards, you'll be able to go to It's Italia and Toque Blanche and possibly your bank and insurance agent, and you will be able to rack up some reward points that will get you good stuff. We were also charged with increasing hotel occupancies, and I'm proud to, that what you would like to do is see it go from 67% to 80%. So I just calculated this about 4 days ago for the last 6 months, and I am proud to report that we are at 77.5% for the city of Half Moon Bay. If you will recall, in 2008, we were at 49%. So that little adage, you know, you've come a long way, baby, certainly comes to mind. We hired Roy Truitt, an independent contractor, to do midweek corporate sales 20 hours a week. I have been so happy with Roy and what he's been able to do. He was, just to give you a little background, he was a hotel manager for Marriott's and Hilton hotels all over the United States. And he's been in Silicon Valley and Santa Clara for a long time and helped found the BID for the Santa Clara Visitors Bureau and Chamber and Visitors Bureau. So he's very familiar with a lot of the companies down there that we would like to have them come here and do their executive meetings and everything instead of going to Monterey and elsewhere. So we have a new website component to the Visit Half Moon Bay. .org, and that is halfmoonbaymeetings.com. We also went on CVent. You know, when large companies are planning to have a retreat or a meeting, they no longer go through those big books and everything that are sent out once a quarter. They go to the web. So one of the main places they go is CVent, and we got a free listing actually for the year, and we will now be looking at paying for that listing for 2015. We also upped the social media marketing. Terry Plank has done an absolutely exceptional job in raising our rankings and doing that through social media. And we have a gorgeous corporate brochure that you all have had copies of. This is the halfmoonbaymeetings.com website, just gives you a little bit of an idea. We have an average about 1,700 visits per month, and we email marketing materials to the qualified meeting planners. That's a campaign that goes out. The next campaign for that is this month. And then there is a form, obviously, when people are interested in having a meeting on the coast side, they fill out that form. And we add relevant content constantly. So the group sales summary. Roy has brought 12 conferences since April of 2014, and that represents 4,052 room nights, 11,665 group meals. We did lose some business during the months of September and mostly October. We lost 65 rooms and $31,200, and you probably can guess why, because we're all full up. We don't have any room to put them, so he had to turn business away, which is not a bad position to be in. He booked a total revenue for 2014 of $284,000. As I say, that's just since April. He has proposed leads for 2015 of 2,150 room nights, 5,000 group meals, total revenue of $869,500, and that would put us year to date for $1,184,500 brought to the coast by this ED partnership that we have embarked on together. I would say that that's not a bad return. On the right side, you can see a list of some of the companies that he has made sales calls to and inroads with, which is a rather, for those of you in the audience, Intel, Aetna, Kaiser, I won't read them all, but Cisco, Google, several names that you would know. Okay, and this is just a picture of our CVent page. We don't need to go into that, but you can always go on the website and take a look so that you can see what that looks like for meeting planners and what they see when they look at the Half Moon Bay Coast side. As I said before, Terry Plank has done a great job with our social media marketing, where we have Facebook, blogs, Twitter, a lot of visual marketing. He will go around and take videos and put it up. It might be of something to do or somewhere he's eating. With the BID, the Business Improvement District, they actually pay for Terry's part with this. But we did use a little bit of ED money on a couple of things along the way, but this is mostly paid for by the BID. But you can't just post about hotels all the time, because first of all, people, they understand that you're just trying to sell the hotels. And people don't come to a place to stay in the hotels unless there's some reason to come. So that's where you go out and you start posting about the fun stuff to do here, the hiking, the kayaking, the bike riding along the coastal trail, etc. And that's the kind of things that he constantly posts. And if you haven't befriended Half Moon Bay on social media, please go ahead and do that, because then you will see his posts. It's quite fun. And then our corporate brochure, which you have all been given copies of. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. Doesn't matter how technologically savvy we become, they want that brochure. They need to take it and show it to their boss. They need to take it and show it to the people who, when they decide where they're going. It's got everything in it, all the pictures, stats, restaurants, things to do, not just about the hotels, not just about Half Moon Bay hotels. We also have the Oceano, other coastside hotels in there, because otherwise we wouldn't have enough place to put these people. And I know it's ED money, but if they come to the Oceano, they're going to spend money here as well, and it just makes so that we have more to offer. We also were charged with developing a business retention and expansion program. So we have a Main Street map coming out. We have new welcome signage and new directional signage. This is a little rendering of the Main Street map. It's a little hard to see, but it's about Main Street, but the Main Street merchants kept telling us that people come in all the time and then ask, well, where is Mavericks? And where is the ocean? They do ask that, guys, trust me. Where is the ocean? Well, let's see. You're on the West Coast. Okay. And where other things are, where the jail is, where the Johnson House, etc. So this is going to be, all the merchants will be able to have this that they can hand out, and it will also have merchants' names and where they are, etc. on it. ED money is helping us with that. So thank you very much for that. That's going to, I think, be really, really useful. The welcome signage, this is the one on the goat farm on Highway 92 as you come into town, and a lot of our groups, our organizational groups, such as Lions and Oddfellows and Rotary, were very, very pleased to get a new sign and their logos up there that you could actually read and that were not peeling and fading away. New directional signage to find Main Street. Obviously, since February, we've had awesome weather, but this was not one day when I took these pictures. Probably the only time it rained during the whole summer. But people turn off of Highway 1 on the north side by McDonald's, and they go past the backside of New Leaf. They go past a PG&E plant. They get to 92 and say, well, wow, that was Main Street? That wasn't a whole box of chocolates. And they get, disconcerted, and they turn off, go back over 92 or back to Highway 1. These signs actually are encouraging them, shop, dine, stay, keep going, you're on the right track. And then we have another one if they turn off on Main Street at the south end of town to come along and see that and not get discouraged and keep going until they find the downtown. We also will be replacing, the beautification committee was kind enough to allow us to have their sign. The sign on the left is the one in front of the Johnston House coming into town. These are temporary signage, by the way. We have an entire signage program. The city, I shouldn't say we, the city has an entire signage program that is going to do more gateway signs, et cetera. But these are to get us started. The sign on the right we will have to get Caltrans permission. We thought we could do that with being on private property, but it'll be too far away. But that's the kind of signage that we're looking at to direct. This first stage of the signage is mainly directing people to the downtown area, because we still do get people, not as much as we used to, but we still do get people that come into town, drive down Highway 1, never find Main Street, and call our office later and say, we found out that you have a really cute town, but we never found it. So hopefully we're going to improve that. Another thing that we were charged with is improving the internet access working on the coast side with high-speed internet, et cetera. So Alex and I met with Rob Genovese of Coastside Net, and it seems that we learned something. There's probably a lot of techies in the audience that are going to say, well, yeah, I knew that, but we didn't. And here's the deal. We have the exact same capabilities of anywhere. We have the exact same capabilities as Over the Hill. There is nothing that they have that we don't have, except for one thing. They have high rises. So when you go in, any property owner can get the high-speed internet, the fiber optics, et cetera, to their building. But when you're doing it in San Mateo with a 6-story building and 200 offices, you split that cost amongst all your tenants. Here, either the person renting the building, and what he might have 2, 3 clients in there, maybe 4, or the owner has to foot that bill. So it makes it a little cost prohibitive for us to have that up and down the coast. But if at some point there is a way to do that, or the city wins the lotto, that's something that we can take a look at. And we were also charged with developing culinary arts and agritourism. So we did Healthy Kids Fair in September. We did the Husk to Harvest dinner at the end of September. Tour de Fleurs, we did not use any ED money on, but I felt that it needed to be up there since that's one that we've been doing for 17 years and definitely falls into that category. And then we were going to be planning another farm to table dinner in the spring, and I'll go over the first 2 in a minute. But we have come up with a plan that I think council might like better. It's just in the beginning stages, and nothing is in stone, so don't hold me to any of this. But I think we're going to have between 4 and 5 events the last Thursday of the month from May to September on Main Street. And no, please, all merchants hear this. There will be no street closures. Let me repeat that. There will be no street closures. Just so that I don't get killed tomorrow.
You have many more to go, Therese?
Almost.
We'll get you to...
We're almost. Healthy Kids Fair was in conjunction with New Leaf, and that was really, really well attended, and people absolutely loved it. It was all about kids, it was all about health, it was all about recycling, et cetera. Husk to Harvest dinner was very well attended. Everybody really, really liked it, but it was really, really cost prohibitive. It cost about $180 per person for us to put that on. So it's not something that would be sustainable for us to do in the future. That's why we're looking at the other event. And the one thing that we did do is we pulled out all court press on, or all cost on press. We did a full court press, and this is all in very small print. All of the press that we received around the United States, especially Bay Area, on the Husk to Harvest dinner. And that is the end of my part, and I will introduce Dante Hall.
Thank you. Very active.
And my section will be very brief, but I just wanted to mention, as in economic development, it's really kind of an ecosystem where we're dependent upon the strength and health of our businesses. And so we want to work very hard together. When the city decided to create the Community Development Department, it was something that was done with a lot of forethought because you're looking at the entire development process. A lot of these things relate or state there for planning, but we're really doing it for the entire department. And for the department, 3 goals, 3 things that we're focusing on, that we want to tell people what the rules are in plain English. Number 2, we want to be responsive to people. We want to be practical with people's time and people's money. And number 3 is that we want to be consistent and predictable and get all of the uncertainty out is what people want to do business with the city. So a lot of these things are focused on that. They've been completed. We've instituted full-time planning counter hours. We've done that for building also, so that anytime during the city hall hours, people can come in and do business with the city. We are predictable in our completeness letters. We have a 20-day cycle in getting back to people and telling them when their project is scheduled for a hearing and so forth. Plain English, we've revised a lot of our applications and permits. We've made them available on our website, and we're still working through the process. Another example are residential summary sheets. We took about 5 pounds of code, of just narrative, and kind of boiled it down to pictures, illustrations, and again, in plain English, telling people what the rules are is a big time saver. And lastly is the predictability of timing, of schedule for a hearing. Before, people didn't have certainty when they submitted a project to the city of when it would go to the hearing and when. We can tell them with pretty much certainty if they submit their application on this date, we will be able to go to the Planning Commission on this date. And so that's just very helpful. A year ago, we did a workshop for the development community and just people that did business with our city. We did a workshop, and it's time to kind of survey people again, and we'll be releasing or distributing another survey asking people about their experiences with the Community Development Department, with the development process, and from that, we will set goals for the future. So we're glad to be a partner with the Chamber and with the community.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
We have one more slide. And this will show you what has been spent to date and what is still there that can be spent from here on to the end of the agreement in July.
Thank you very much for your hard work and also dedication. Yes, a comment?
Apologize, John. I feel very talkative today.
I know when to cut you off.
Thank you. Fair enough. So I just wanted to acknowledge Sharice and your work. When we worked hard to pass Measure J a few years ago, part of that commitment to the community was we were going to dedicate some of those funds to go to economic development, and that effort would be led by the Chamber and under your leadership. And I'll be honest, I was concerned about where it was going to go and what we were going to get for it. And I'm delighted the work you did and the results that you've got for our community, well worth every penny. It's just remarkable, and I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate that very, very much. And then regarding the planning, just anecdotally, Dante got some. There was celebrated the anniversary of the church I attend this past weekend, and they just rebuilt over the course of last year. And they were, during their presentation, they called out Half Moon Bay planning as we didn't expect it to be a good process or enjoyable, but oddly it was. And they actually called it out during the presentation, so good work to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Vice Mayor?
Just quickly, I want to thank the work of the Chamber. So many of our businesses are locally owned, and I think through the work you're doing has kept those businesses open, but especially kept in the hospitality area a lot of people here on the coast employed. We know how the recession had hit very hard a few years ago, and a lot of people that live here locally were out of work. So I'm glad to see that they're all gainfully employed, and a lot of that is through the work that your organization has done to keep these businesses open and to keep folks here on the coast with jobs. Thanks.
Councilmember Patridge?
I just want to thank you, Sharice. I've always been a real hard critic of the Chamber, and I want to applaud you for what you have done and all the things that have come out of there, and it's been really great, and what a working relationship that we've been able to develop with the city, so thank you so much.
Councilman Alfano?
I agree.
I think just briefly that, you know, to get a return, you need to have an investment, and it looks like, as Councilman Kowalczyk said, we invested in the Chamber, and it shows by the numbers of return up there. We can drive by our establishments that are pretty busy almost all the time. Hotels are busy, and I think that's very positive for all of us for revenue on the coast side. Highway 1 traffic is busy, we all know that, and Highway 92 traffic is busy, we know that. So went to the city for a meeting this morning, and let me tell you, the traffic is bad everywhere. So that's the way California is booming right now. So thank you. So moving on. We go on to next item, mayor's announcements. And the election season is over, and I would like to personally congratulate our recently elected new council members that will be seated on December 2nd, our first council meeting in December. First, congratulations to council member-elect Ruddick and council member-elect Penrose. I don't know, are they in the room here tonight? Yep, council member Ruddick, you could stand up. Thank you, congratulations on my behalf. And the re-election of Councilman Kowalczyk, congratulations. I'm looking forward for all of us to work together. There's some challenging times ahead with the cities, but we can all work together to continue to move the city forward in a positive direction. I'm really hopefully looking forward to that. And so I think December 2nd will be an exciting evening for our city of Half Moon Bay here. So other announcements, community service. I know there's quite a few going on. There's a job fair, thank you, on November 21st with Representative Jackie Spear. It's an annual event at the county event center. And does anyone else have some? I know Night of Lights is coming up, but that's after the next meeting. I don't know what we have, anything this week out there. So we will continue to move on. So we'll move on with city attorney. I guess most important, it is the beginning of a Thanksgiving holiday time coming up here, and I think that's definitely a time of giving. We think of Christmas as giving, but the library folks are giving, and all of us are going to be giving and sharing. I think it's a very important, wonderful week for all of us. So wishing everyone a beginning of a happy holiday season here coming up. So city attorney, comments on a closed session?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mueller, members of the City Council. There was a very brief closed session this evening that started at 5:45, just before the workshop on the MacDutra Park. That involved one item of pending litigation, the Gradstein and Gorman versus California Coastal Commission case. The council received a report from the city attorney's office and gave direction, but there was no reportable action taken. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. City council reports. We'll start with our senior member here, Councilmember Patridge.
I attended the Transportation Authority Subcommittee meeting on high-speed rail and electrification of Caltrans, and a presentation will be made to the Transportation Authority Board, which happened the following week. I attended the Measure S Oversight Committee meeting for CUSD, attended my last Transportation Authority meeting. We received a program report on the highway programs, of all the different highway programs that are being funded through Measure A. Mike Scanlon, the executive director, reported on the Joint Powers Board and also his executive report. Carol Matsumoto gave her report on the Transit District. We accepted the quarterly investment report and fixed income market review. And we did go into closed session regarding litigation on property acquisition for the Broadway project, the big Broadway interchange project there. Attended the mural presentation at Moonside along with Vice Mayor Frazier. Attended the Big Wave San Mateo County Planning Commission hearing held at Algonata School, and attended the Coastal Commission reception. Attended the MTC Highway Awards luncheon, and I'm really proud to announce that Half Moon Bay was one of only 3 cities to be recognized from 7 Bay Area counties. Moraga and Brentwood were the other 2 cities, along with Half Moon Bay, and our award was for the most improved roads. So this council should be very proud that our roads have gone really up and we've been recognized. So I'd like to present this to you, John. And then on a side note, this doesn't have anything to do with city council, but it does have to do with my passion for kids. Every year, the Tides, this is a young traveling team, 7.5 to 9-year-old girls. I tell my family every year, oh, I don't know how they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to do. Lo and behold, the Little Devils won the championship. They were ranked 7th, beat the 2nd place team, beat the 4th place team, and beat the 1st place team for the championships, and the 12U teams also won the championships. And I have to announce that, and I really want to announce, because this is really exciting for us local Half Moon Bay alumni when we beat Terra Nova in football, and we retained the Skull. And the score was 49-48. So it was an exciting night for the Cougars. That's all.
And thank you. I'd like to just share this. It's a Street Saver program. Thank the city staff for all the work they put into it, and all of you for your patience with street improvement works. And the city council, when we made the commitment, hopefully we can win a couple more of these. It'll be a little more challenging, but we at least got one here. So congratulations to all of you. Councilman Kowalczyk.
Thank you. Just a few things to report on. I attended the Sewer Authority Midcoast meeting yesterday, and I just in general want to report that our working relationship with the other member agencies is as good as it's ever been, and in large part due to the collaborative efforts of Councilmember Alfano and to the support from Alex Kajikian and our staff. So that it's just going really well. We've been watching our flow rates. So we pay for sewer services based on flow and volume. Lovely as that is to think about, but it's serious money, and it's serious money for the city, and so we're watching that and monitoring it and making sure that we are paying a fair amount. But the things are going well there. Just report that in general and no issues. Then the rest are just activities around the community. Attended the concert in the park and really want to acknowledge Sherazad and the work of the Parks and Rec Committee on putting on the concert in the park, and it was fabulous. We had probably 150 people kind of continually rolling through. People would walk on, people would come in. And it was just excellent. And just a good community feel, good community event, and looking forward to the next one. And actually, Sherazad, I need to talk to you about the next one when we get a chance. And I attended the ribbon cutting for the Boys and Girls Club at the the community center here for making this, sharing our space for the teen center, and high energy evening, and the kids are loving it, and it's a great use for the space, so a good decision on all of our parts to continue to collaborate there. And we just completed a study session about MacDutra Park, and I want everybody in the community to know that we're planning changes to MacDutra Park, but also that I spent some time and outreach this weekend with a local community member, Eric DeBode, and I went over and spoke to the day workers at the park, let them know about the project, what's coming up, and what to expect, so that nobody in the community has any surprises with the changes in the park. And those were all my activities.
Thank you. Councilman Alfano.
We had a business roundtable. The chamber sponsors this the fourth Friday of every month, and it's really an excellent opportunity for the businesses in town to attend and find out things that are happening. The city manager came with some of the city staff and talked about what was happening in town. It's a really great way for information to get passed along. We always hear the complaint of, gee, you don't talk to me enough, you don't communicate well. The fourth Friday of each month, just check with the chamber website, and there's great topics that should be of interest to the business owners. And if they want to hear something, they need to let the chamber know, who can then schedule to get that topic on there. Sam, also, we've had 2 meetings. And the one thing that's really, not only I agree with Councilmember Qualcheck that we've really had an improvement in the attitude and cooperation with the SAM members, and it's been a difficult thing to get to that point, but it's really nice to go there now and see everybody trying to accomplish something. And the really, really positive thing is we're very close to putting together a contract to do recycled water from SAM to CCWD, Coastside Water, onto the golf courses. And with the drought we've been going through, it's really a great project. So we're very close. The agency have to approve the principles. I think the city council should have that on the December meeting. And then once that's all agreed to, then SAM and CCWD will hammer out the details of a contract. Be a great way to reduce the use of potable water that the golf course currently buys from Coastside Water and replace that with recycled water and stop putting it out into the ocean. And the last thing, again, I agree, the Boys and Girls Club Teen Center ribbon cutting was great. These kids are really doing a great job. The staff of the Boys and Girls Club is doing a great job. And I mean, I've read some of these posts like Facebook, people like, really? After all these years, you finally made it happen? And when we had the gang meeting in this room about 3 or 4 years ago, the one thing that the sheriff and all of his advisors said to the community was, keep the kids busy after school. Do not let the kids have idle hands after school or they will get in trouble. And by having things like the teen center next door, and walk there if you haven't seen it, it keeps the kids busy. The library, the teen center, all these things are to keep these kids out of trouble. And it's really helped. So when you get a chance, go over and take a look at it.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I attended a couple of sign committee meetings with members of the public, and as was mentioned in the chamber's presentation, there are a lot of people. We all know where everything is, but it's amazing when people do come down over 92 looking for the beach and they end up in the Safeway parking lot. So we're using best practices from other towns to identify signs, and that's going to be coming to council and planning in January. I was, on behalf of the mayor, I gave a welcome to the Coastal Commission. I want to thank Board of Supervisor Carol Groom for bringing the Coastal Commission here on the coast. It was the first time the Coastal Commission has ever met in San Mateo County. So we're fortunate that they stayed out in Oceana and they enjoyed it very much. So a lot of thanks to Keat and Nancy Nurhan. The Coastal Commission was very gratified with the service and the hospitality they received there, and they got a lot of work done. They had a lot of late meetings. The concerts in the park, That's also been mentioned. That was a great event. Want to thank our Park and Rec Committee, particularly Sharzad, John, Sue, and Marcia for all their work. And I think the Beatles cover band was a big hit. I don't see them here, but there were a lot of people that were out dancing that usually come to our meetings, so I've got video proof. I think these folks were teenagers when the Beatles first hit, and they were out having a great time. So we look to have more of those type of things, and definitely a party before we tear apart Mac Jutra to have the new one, so we can have more of these concerts out here. I did also attend with Councilmember Patridge the unveiling of a healing mural down at Moonridge, and through our library, JPA presented the conceptual plan of the library, and just want to thank the community also for a great success of our library book sales over the weekend. Thank you throughout the year for donating to the library that funds so many programs to the tune of about $20,000 a year, as was made in an earlier presentation that was noted. So it was a great success, and we look forward to continuing that. And today I spent time in Pescadero with the Cabrillo School District Assistant Superintendent John Corey. We do a program in support of Rotary and Chamber where we're helping the high school seniors learn how to prepare and present themselves in the workplace, how to professionally get a new job, and all those little things that you really have to be taught, little tips and tricks. And it's I think they learned a lot, and it's also very rewarding to be a part of that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate council covering for me. I don't have much to report on, going through some personal family issues, but I did stop by the Senior Resource Fair Vendors event here last week that was just spectacular, put on by the title sponsor, San Mateo County Health Plan, and the Senior Co-Siders and Half Moon Bay Review, and there was over 25 vendors there. It was just an amazing showing of the diversity that this community has built and the affordable housing that we are building and have built, that we really are recognized, I think, throughout San Mateo County for the planning of our senior community. And they were definitely out in force there with all the vendors getting advice and sharing their experiences and their energy out there. So I keep telling them to save me a room, but they haven't yet. So we'll keep on farming. So thank the council and thank staff for their patience here the last couple of months. So at this time, we go to city managers' updates, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder, I mentioned it before, Night of Lights, and there's a nice brochure that Cherie shared with me, and I'm sure I'll share with all of you, and just remind the community that City Hall will be open, and look forward to seeing you there. The concert in the park, just again, a reminder that the next concert will be on May 3rd, and hope to see folks there over at the Johnston House. As you know, perhaps know, wanted to just report that the appeal, the tsunami siren appeal to the Coastal Commission was withdrawn a week before the meeting. Therefore, the appeal was not heard. And just starting to give a heads up, the holidays are upon us, and the City Hall will be closed from December 24th through January 5th. I'll continue to remind us through each of the meetings, but just wanted to start the heads up on that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. I forgot to mention, which is kind of exciting, there's a new farmer's market stamp out there, a postage stamp that the state of California pushed with the U.S. Postal Service. It's quite an attractive stamp. So I know our farmer's market manager, Aaron Tormey, worked really hard on working through that too. So we have a farmer's market stamp out there now. So I'll move on to public forum, and I have a number of cards. My first one will be Hope Atmore, please, and followed by David Schnorr. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller and council members. My name is Hope Atmore, and I'm co-president of the Friends of the Library. The Friends of the Library supported Measure O as a means to help fund a new library through an extension of the Measure J sales tax. By using funds from the sales tax, we felt that it was a way to more equally share some of the cost of a new library among all members of the coast-side, and not just Half Moon Bay residents. Additionally, with money brought in through tourism, the entire coast-side could benefit. While we were disappointed by the outcome on November 4th, we were and are ready to pursue other funding mechanisms. Nonetheless, I do feel that we would like to be certain that the will of the voters is accurately represented. As provisional ballots have continued to be counted, the margin by which Measure O failed has diminished, and as of today, Measure O lost by only 20 votes. I would like to request that the council advise staff to research the feasibility of a recount on Measure O. I feel confident that if the tables were turned and Measure O had won by 20 votes, the other side would be making a similar request. As I have said privately and publicly throughout this process, the Friends of the Library will continue to work with all interested members of the community to make what is clearly an important goal a reality for our town. We are already poised to move forward. However, I would like to be sure that every vote that should have been counted actually is counted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hope. David, please. I think we can conclude after comments. I believe that's proper. Yes, welcome, David.
Mayor Mueller and council members, thanks. As members of the public, issues kind of rise to our attention sometimes, and often without the context, background, and details that you guys are aware of. Nonetheless, I think in the past week, I read briefly that the city was planning on spending $100,000 to put in 2 electric vehicle charging stations someplace downtown. Again, without the context, background, and detail, the reason given was that would attract well-heeled visitors to our town with their electric vehicles, Tesla, I suppose. Since Mayor Mueller spoke to an investment needing a return on investment, I really have to question the logic in that. I think if you penciled out how long it would take to return $100,000 of economic benefit to the city through those 2 charging stations, the answer would be sometime between a long time and never. I fully support the idea of environmentally sensitive infrastructure. I own a Prius. We've got solar panels on our roof, all that good stuff. But if you're really looking at making Half Moon Bay a model city for environmental sensitivity, that $100,000 would relamp several hundred streetlights as LEDs with return on investment in a matter of years, if that, with greatly reducing our carbon footprint. I would like the City Council to also consider in the long term a larger project of taking some parcel of vacant land that we have and putting a megawatt scale solar farm on it and making the city of Half Moon Bay carbon neutral. I think that would be a big feather in our cap. That would increase our prestige, and we'd be helping lead the way towards a future that we know we have to get on board with as soon as possible. So in summary, if the horse has left the barn on this $100,000 project, so be it, but I would hope that, rather than making a symbolic gesture towards a green footprint, that we allocate our resources in a way that make a measurable and sustainable difference. Thanks.
Thank you. Maybe staff could update us soon on that, send out a notice to us, or would you like to make a comment at the end here?
I don't have the data in front of me. We're doing hand signals here, and I'm not sure we were getting them, but it's certainly not $100,000.
Yeah, we don't have to do it now, but we could.
Great. Why don't we send a report, and we can certainly contact the gentleman and give him the information.
Get a hold of David,
happy to do
please.
that.
I don't want to start responding to public comment, otherwise it doesn't give a fair opportunity for all. Brian Gannett, please.
Good evening, Mayor Mueller, City Council and staff. Thank you. Just want to take a moment to thank Naomi for her many years of service on the council, and Alan for a number of years here, and it's 5 council here for the last 4 years. All that you have accomplished, and you've had my support, and thank you for all that work. Second, one thing to note, on the Coastal Commission tsunami appeal, although it was withdrawn, it's important to note that the Coastal Commission staff did deny the appeal in no uncertain terms. And thank you to city staff for following through on for I think 4 years of work on that appeal and getting that kind of result. And it's the second one that has been basically won in this manner. So when you have logic and the law and the facts on your side, please do fight those fights. And one thing for Dante to know too, I've spoken to 2 people who are doing construction projects, one who's expanding, one who's a new business, and one person involved in residential construction in the last month or so, and they've said the planning department has never seemed to have been working as well as it is now. And they said it was responsive, it is easy to work with, it is just a generally nice experience overall, and I think the 2 little cheat sheets he put up there at the end there are very indicative of the kind of process that's going on there now. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Cesar, for public comment. We still have 2 cards left here. Yes, I had 1 card for you. I don't have a card for you, ma'am, but not on public comment. I don't have a card.
Okay, sorry. Oh, if you have room for me, my name is Judy Macias.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I apologize. Yes, Judy, go ahead.
Okay. I am here with my co-chair, Julia O'Daly of Half Moon Bay, to comment on the wonderful senior fair that you mentioned that took place last Friday. And if you lived in city of Half Moon Bay, I don't think there was a parking place left. It was an amazing turnout. And Village of the Coastside was one of the exhibitors at the fair. And we were most impressed. At least 200 people signed up to learn more about the Village of the Coastside. And I won't go into that tonight, but I did want to encourage all of you and the audience to take the Coastsiders Dilemma Retirement Survey. All the information is here, and I'll leave more information at the door. And we are asking if baby boomers want to age in place and whether they have all the services they need here on the coastside to age in place. And we are looking at a national village model and creating the Village of the Coastside. So the information is here. You go online and you go to www.villageofthecoastside.org, and there is a 7 or 8 minute survey. Thank you to the Chamber for supporting the platform for the survey, and to the library for being another one of our partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy, and both of you for your hard work. And it's a point of interest, there's 2 of us that are the original baby boomers in America that live in Half Moon Bay. Steve Oku and myself were 1146. We're the first ones. So we will. So, Sheriff Sod, thank you for letting Judy step in.
Of course. Hello, good morning, good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Sherzad Pantera. I chair Parks and Recreation for the City of Half Moon Bay, our committee, and thank you so much for your support of Concert in the Park. It was really wonderful. We're looking forward to having more, and we'll talk to all the council members. But what I'm here to also talk about is through our Concert in the Park, we did have it at McDutra Park to showcase the redoing of the park, and we have had time capsule. So we're really excited about our time capsule, and I do want to, before, thank my co-chair, Marcia Riley, for helping with putting together the concerts, and of course my committee members that all were part of it. But with Cameron Palmer was also a huge help with us, and we came up with having a time capsule that we're going to bury when we redo McDutra Park and open it up in the 100th anniversary of our city's birthday. And my son is currently 14 years old, and he'll be 59 when we open that up. So that's something to put it in perspective. But so currently now the time capsule is housed at City Hall. Thank you so much. And there's forms available. We're really inviting the public. Please go in, put whatever you like, just no food. And there's plenty of space, and put it in the time capsule, and it'll be opened up in 100 years. And hopefully we'll be able to bury it in, when we start the construction project in early 2015. Thank you.
Great idea. We'll have to bring them a couple pumpkin seeds. So my last public forum, Matthew, are you still here? Did he leave, our Pacific Coast TV person? Yep, there you are. I knew you were here.
Good evening, Mayor Mueller and City Council. Martin Anaya with the community television station, Channel 27. And just wanted to say, Pacific Coast TV, my good man is going to pass around some cards for you. Want to invite you to an event this weekend, is basically why I'm here. But just to touch on a couple of quick things in terms of the economic development and the video that was aforementioned. You know, we have, in the last 2 years at Pacific Coast TV, amassed hundreds and hundreds of hours of the coastal trails, of the water, of the whales that do their thing just off the coast. And it's just been amazing in the last couple of years what we've been able to not only catalog. Some of these have been not only on demand, but on YouTube and on our channel, have gotten well over 40, 50, 60,000 hits. So without putting too fine a point on it, we're here to be a full partner in that economic development and in terms of bringing awareness to the coast side. And again, part of that is this event. I just wanted to invite you all, and again, I know some of you have actually participated on our red carpet TV auction. This auction, of course, does primarily raise funds for Pacific Coast TV to help us to continue to do what we do, but it also is our opportunity to give back to the local business community and to let that light shine, to really shine the spotlight on that business community. And again, not just for the coastsiders, not just for the folks in Pacifica who may or may not know so many wonderful things about all the local businesses and the folks down at Pescadero and the back and forth, but also for the growing internet audience that we've got now, folks from literally all over the world. I had folks literally calling in and bidding on items from last year. I had Ireland, England, let's see, several different European countries, as well as a couple places in Africa and on the continent of Asia. So it's just really been a beacon, and what it's meant is that we're able to give thanks and shed a spotlight on some of those businesses. So if you guys want to come and help us man the phones this weekend, we'd love to have it. My number is on here. Give me a call. But and for those people that do not have Comcast, that can't see us on Channel 27, you can get us at pacificcoast.tv. So hope to see you this weekend. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew, and thank you for the service. At this time, that concludes public forum, and we will move on to the consent calendar. Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry. So there was a public forum comment, and normally I won't comment on public forum, but regarding Measure O and an inquiry about, I guess I would like to understand the general process for a recount and how we might support that.
I don't have great detail, but based on my experience in the past, it's something like after the results get certified, which will be December 2nd, we have a number of days after that time, or someone who would like to request a recount has a number of days to then request that recount. They have, I think it's about 5 to 10 days. The county then has a mechanism by which the recount can be done either manually or by machine, and there's a cost associated with both of those counts. The machine count is usually less expensive because they run them through the process. If it's a manual count, then they have several staff members that are physically, individually counting each of the ballots. And what the areas in which the numbers might change are those which may have been disqualified in the past based on perhaps a signature wasn't legible or that kind of thing. So you have 2 or 3 people then reviewing those ballots and then making a determination about each individual ballot. I could certainly get more information for the council and happy to bring that forward if you'd like.
Yes, if you could bring something back at our next meeting, that would be great. Thank you.
Happy to do that.
And we have time. For Rica. Okay, very good. So moving on to the consent calendar, we have a request for pulling a number of items. So, Council, what's your interest here on the consent calendar?
Has there any of them that have been asked to be pulled?
I'd like to pull number 9, please.
Number 9 will be pulled. Also, I've had a public request for item 7 and item 10, same individual. 7 and 10.
I would make a motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 on the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion, comments? If not, all in favor on those items?
Aye.
Aye. So ordered. Do you want to knock out the consent calendar here while we have an opportunity? We'll start with number 7. Okay, we will start with item 7. I have a brief staff presentation.
I will take that. Art Gorell has come to the city and is proposing a food truck to be located at Poplar Beach. It would run from November through May, and it would go for the lunch hour between 11 and 2, and for dinner from 4 to 6 p.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And on the staff report, you will see the different requirements that we have set forward, including the annual payment of $616, the city license, business license, insurance, the hours of operations, which I've already mentioned, and then the location in terms of where the food truck will be located. And then, of course, because there's food involved, all county requirements in terms of health and safety conditions must be complied with as well.
Thank you. Would you like to hear from the individual who requests a poll? So Rick Hernandez, please.
Hi, I'm Rick Hernandez. I live at 360 Poplar Street. I've talked to a lot of my neighbors, and most of us think the food truck is a good experiment on Poplar Beach. However, for those of you who don't visit Poplar Beach on the weekends, I think you might be surprised to the extent of the garbage problem we have on the beach, particularly plastic bags, plastic utensils, things that come from the McDonald's, the Taco Bell, other restaurants in the area. I provided a picture to city staff that is being passed around to the council there of what we do on weekends, which is pick up garbage from the beach. My kids were proud to have recovered a Safeway shopping cart and about 100 pounds of garbage from the beach, and I know many of our neighbors participate in that. So as you look to approve item number 7, we would request that you make a condition that any of the serving utensils be 100% biodegradable or paper products, and that they don't use any kind of plastic bag as it is terrible litter, and even biodegradable plastic bags may not be so good for the leatherback turtles that feed off of the jellyfish off our coast. So if you could take that into consideration, that would be greatly appreciated. We would also ask that the permit fees and sales tax that arise from this business be set aside for additional cleanup on the beach, because that's sorely lacking there. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, Vice Mayor?
I appreciate the comments from the speaker. I think this is a good thing to pilot, and I'm especially okay to agree with this because it is a local business, so it's not outside businesses coming in here to sell food. This is a business on Main Street, so I think it's a good time to see how this works out. Certainly, if this extends garbage or there's a big mess with this, I think we should cease operation of it. And appreciate the speaker's family cleaning up, as so many people do who live here clean up the beach. I think that's an issue that we have with our visitors. And the bigger garbage cans we get, it seems they still get full. So there's got to be another way to tackle this. But I think that let's pilot this to see how this works out with this season, with this vendor. And if there are other issues, then I think we should go and look at that, and it's either we continue and we fix it, or we end that type of business.
Very good. Councilman Kwolchak?
Yeah, big surprise, I have something to say. So I concur with that, Marita. Let's pilot it, give it a shot. But also ask staff to, I was also made aware of the similar comments about trash at Poplar. And I guess related to this and the comments from the speaker, I'd like to keep an eye on it. And if we need additional pickups or additional coverage, additional something, let's catch it before it becomes a bigger issue, or even if we have to act now, if we could look at that.
Yeah, it'd be great. It was good to hear from the neighbors that are down there. I mean, we all know about Poplar Beach and the issues, but let's face facts. I mean, we probably haven't heard from a neighbor in a couple of years, so it'd be great for either Rick or the other neighbors periodically to come and just give us an update, and we can continue to find out ways to improve this. It's a great resource for people who want to come and park at the beach, and it's also potentially a great way to maybe serve some food and make some money for a local business. But we do want to keep things clean. So thank you, and be good if you or your neighbors would come back periodically and give us an update.
I think a lot of the garbage problems aren't just the beachgoers. I think it's a lot of our local residents dumping their garbage into our dumpsters down there. I have that happen all the time at the high school. My dumpster gets filled by other people dumping their dump stuff in there. So I think we need to maybe have maintenance watch and make sure that they're not being used by the general public, because I know down at Smithfield that's also a problem. So anytime you have a dumpster, everybody thinks it's theirs, that they can go and use it.
Well, I think when you're talking about trash, if I was king in the world, trash would be one of the major things you would work to clean up. We see it on Main Street that residents are bringing their trash and using our Main Street receptacles also. But I believe we were one of the cities that originally started a polystyrene ban, number one, and number two, plastic bag ban. So I think that would encourage this vendor to look at very closely that we do have a policy in place for plastic bag and polystyrene. So I don't know what type of vessel he will have to distribute his food. And I kind of believe that he should be taking it, the vendor should take his own trash out too, and he leaves the property there. So any other comments on that? But otherwise we could take.
I move to approve the license agreement between the City of Half Moon Bay and Arc Grill.
Second.
Any other further comments or questions? If not, we could, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so ordered 5-0. Now we move to item 9. Staff presentation, please. And I have no cards on item 9.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is for an approval of a contract with Biggs Cardoza to do some preliminary design services. We have worked with the Coastal Conservancy and also with state parks to really put the scope of the project and the replacement of Pilarcitos Bridge and pinpoint that as much as possible in terms of cost and also permitting. Biggs Cardoza has worked with the city in the past. As you recall, they invested some time and also brought to us several temporary options. And they are also doing a corrosion study to actually determine the damage that's been done over the years to the footings, to the substructure, I should say, of the bridge, and trying to pin down exactly what needs to be repaired or replaced. So what this work is geotechnical studies, environmental studies, and starting to work on the permitting for the project to get us to a point where we have preliminary designs, we have a closer cost estimate, and we would bring that information back to City Council prior to getting design drawings done and going out to bid. So this is just for the preliminary design services for the Pilositos Bridge. I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Dante. And I wanted to pull this item to point out that, so this is a $91,000 budgeted item that we have budgeted, that we have the money to spend on the Pilositos Bridge because of the funds we raised through Measure J. And so we're helping replace essentially a bridge that is not within our control, but because it affects our community, we think that's a wise use of those funds, and we put, I think, $100,000 aside for that. We further dedicated, I think we in total said should Measure O pass, we would dedicate or budget $300,000 towards this project. And so I would ask the city manager that when we do our budgeting process that we need to examine this. So without Measure O, without the extra $200,000, it has to come from somewhere or nowhere. And so I think we need to look at our projects and decide whether or not we are able to reprioritize and continue to budget for this item. And that's my only comment.
Any, Naomi, Councilman Patrick? No comments? Well, a brief comment. As I understand, and I've looked into this and I've worked with this group before, they have a fine reputation of doing work at an affordable cost, number one, and I think it's definitely within, staff, would you kind of brief me, but I think it's definitely within our policy that we do not have to open up public bids also. Just kind of a little brief background, City Attorney, please.
For professional services like engineers, it's very typical to base the selection of the consultant on the quality of the proposal and the skill of the engineering professional. So it's not the type of contract for which the city has any legal obligation to open it to public bidding, nor would bidding for that type of services generally be considered a wise way to select an engineering professional.
Thank you. If there's no further questions or comments, I entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution authorizing professional services for preliminary design phase of the Pilositos Bridge Creek Bridge replacement project. I read that wrong.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any further discussion or comments? If not, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, so ordered, 5-0. And we move on to item 10. We have a request. We pulled that. And we'll have a brief staff presentation on item 10.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. From time to time, we get requests from the public or from groups to make certain amendments or corrections to traffic regulations. And in the past, that has kind of been approached in kind of a piecemeal fashion. What I've done is created a traffic safety committee to meet periodically and to provide recommendations all at once. And that committee includes myself as the Community Development Director, Planning, Public Works Superintendent, City Engineer, and our Sheriff's Department to kind of provide input. This is the result of one of our first meetings in that fashion to look at amendments to our citywide traffic regulations. There are some times where the amendments or what people are requesting require capital funding or more funding than is available in our budget. And we'll look at that as we look at budget in each year. But there are times where we do have the resources and we can easily make the traffic corrections, and this is one of those cases. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Have the speaker come forward on this. Rick Hernandez, please. And you had it for street improvements. You might clarify that.
Yeah, so I think I've already said where I live. We walk our kids. So we walk our kids to school every day at Seacrest, and I'm here on behalf of the Seacrest Safety Committee. The community, Seacrest, the senior center right next to Seacrest, and some of the other members of Arleta Park got together and put together a list of recommendations that we provided to Dante and Mo. They listened to our recommendations. I'm pleased to say that without any action on your part, the City Council, they went ahead and actually implemented one of those changes, which was to replace the crosswalk on the intersection of Arnold and Main. The key thing, though, that we wanted to comment on was we wanted you to approve the changes that are being proposed, and those changes that affect the Seacrest community as a stop sign at the intersection of Arnold and Main. This will be a big first step in improving the safety in that area. There's additional recommendations that the Seacrest Safety Committee has submitted, which may require additional capital expenditures, may require additional scheduling, and we're aware of that. We just wanted to make you aware of there's more than one request here from our community, and that there's a very dangerous situation that exists now for pedestrians, bicyclists, and even cars there. And this will go a long way to improving that. And there's additional changes that we have recommended. The key thing, though, is by making this change and the other changes we've recommended, it'll encourage other families to bike and walk and get more cars off the road, which I think is a big improvement for the city. And so I'd like to just thank Dante and Mo for getting some of this work prioritized and finding a way to get things done. And I think it represents the professionalism that Dante really brings to the city staff. So thank you, guys. Please support item number 10. Thanks.
Yes, Council?
Well, I think this goes a long way from starting with when we got the light at Poplar Beach, or excuse me, at Poplar Street. That's been huge for people to have that east-west crossing safety-wise. And especially now with our senior center, I know there's a lot more action and activity there. And that's great that the people of Seacrest are starting to walk more. I know that area has been a lot of cars. So this is one more step in our plans for a walkability and a safe pedestrian community. So thanks for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Entertain a motion.
Just real quick comment, Mr. Mayor. The other issue, I think we've all just run across this, when you're on Main Street, kind of in the Seacrest Arnold area, when you're on a side street, you're trying to pull onto Main Street, some of the parked cars on Main Street make it really difficult to have a visual path to see who's coming. And staff may want to look at some of these intersections and maybe push the red line a little farther back so as you're coming up to Main Street, you don't have to put your nose out there to see who's coming. You can actually see down Main Street. That would be a big help. The one on keeping the zone clear in front of the more for less, there's only one little concern I have there, and that's if you don't move up when that light turns green and you leave a gap, the light turns red and you're there for another hour and a half. So I've watched this, I go that way a lot. So I'd recommend if we're going to do this, we're going to leave that gap. So when the light turns green, cars need to start and accelerate. We may want to talk with Caltrans and add a little bit of a delay so they can move forward and not suddenly get a red light there.
I always let people in, Alan, and I always get through.
I watch them all the time. They're nice, and they leave the gap, and all of a sudden you start moving and the light's red and you're there for another 2 hours.
That's okay.
I'm glad you're not in charge of traffic in Half Moon Bay.
You need to learn how to step on the gas.
I respectfully disagree, but I love the wording that we established that all vehicles stop. I think our lieutenant in charge back there could really appreciate that if we could establish that, because I'm not saying I haven't fudged either, but I don't think there's one of us in this room that can never say we've not stopped. And I was on a Rascadero road the other day in Los Altos Hills, I believe, and trust me, the sheriff was just nailing everybody rolling through that stop sign there.
It's a special California San Gregorio stop.
I think this is a good improvement, and again, with the commenter, we've talked about this for a number of years. This is nothing new. So this council has talked about this for a number of years, but we've never had it official. I will tell you, and the newly elected council members can appreciate this, everyone wants a stop sign on their street. It's simple as that. And we're not in charge of that, and it does take time, because otherwise there would be stop signs on every corner of every street in America. So at least we got some safety going here. I think it's very important, and we encourage staff to continue to do that. So a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I'm really happy, first, that we do have that stop at the intersection of Church Street and Correas, because it's by Cunha and the library and the new soccer field. So I'm really happy, Dante, that you did get that in. So I would move to adopt resolution amending citywide traffic regulations established by the City Council Resolution Number C05-11.
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, so ordered 5-0. Thank you, staff, for following through on these tough issues there. Now we're on to item 11. And we will go ahead with staff presentation here, and kind of a brief update on some concerns by the residents here.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller, members of the City Council. My prepared remarks were more brief than what I'm about to say, but I understand that members of the public have come out of interest in this item, so I'll provide a little bit more background than I intended. This is an ordinance introduction to amend the city's habitat areas and water resources overlay and coastal resource area maps. This is actually a do-over of an ordinance that was originally approved by the City Council back in February and submitted to the California Coastal Commission for certification. It came to our attention subsequent thereto that the notice of public hearing for that meeting in February was not published as required by our regulations, and so it's been renoticed and agendized for introduction this night. These map amendments are the result of a lawsuit that was filed against the city in 2010 and a decision by the San Mateo County Superior Court in 2012, finding that the Kehoe Ditch and adjacent area are habitat for California red-legged frog, a federally listed threatened species, and state-listed species of special concern, and for the San Francisco garter snake, a federally listed and state-listed endangered species. The court also found that the Kehoe Ditch is a riparian area and corridor under the city's local coastal program. In response to the decision, the city entered into a settlement agreement in 2012, pursuant to which it acknowledged these findings and also acknowledged that previous biological reports prepared between 2005 and 2008 identified the Kehoe Ditch and the adjacent property to the south, which has been referred to as the land strip parcel, and which is owned by the Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side, as protected areas. In addition, the settlement agreement specified that the nearby Caltrans mitigation site was a protected area and would be identified on these map updates, and that the city would process those to completion. The city's agreed to use its best efforts to amend its maps to identify these protected areas as sensitive habitat, and that constitutes a modification of the habitat area and water resources overlay maps, or the HOWRO maps, as well as the coastal resource area maps. As I previously mentioned, this is a redo of the February 4th ordinance, There is a modification, however, in subsequent communications with the Coastal Commission staff. Coastal Commission requested that the prior ordinance be clarified. The previous ordinance indicated that these areas likely contain or support sensitive coastal resources, and the modification is simply to specify that they contain sensitive coastal resources, and so that's a clarification. That was inadvertently not addressed in the staff report, and so an updated staff report has been drafted and has been distributed this evening for your consideration, and has also been made available to members of the public. I think the important thing to keep in mind about this is that when areas are identified in a biological report that's prepared in connection with a coastal development permit as likely to contain protected species like the California red-legged frog or the San Francisco garter snake, the city's land use regulations protect those areas and require or restrict the available uses that can be made of those protected areas, and similar protections are in place for riparian corridors. This map amendment doesn't affect the regulations that apply in these areas at all. It's the identification of those areas in prior biological reports that has that effect. This map amendment merely acknowledges the findings that those reports contain. So to the extent people may be concerned that this will somehow change what they can do to their own property nearby, it will not. The fact is that once areas are identified as protected coastal resources, then the regulations already go into effect. So that summarizes the information in the report. I'm happy to respond to any council member questions or comments, but otherwise that concludes my report.
Thank you, City Attorney. So we will be working off of the revised handout here.
That is correct.
So we have a number of cards, and why don't we hear them quickly here? Or first one, I believe, is Shirley Gannett. I'm sorry, Shirley. And then be followed by Flo Driscoll. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Shirley Gurnett, and unfortunately the mayor of Pacifica took my speech. I actually wanted to thank Naomi for all the years she's been on the side of the Kehoe people. I want to thank Farmer John for encouraging me, especially Mrs. Farmer John, for telling me not to give up, because it isn't that I wanted to give up, but I got angry. I want to thank Mr. Alifano for coming to my home. He represented you people fabulously. He was a gentleman. He actually had a wonderful idea. We most 99% of us that were there agreed with him. Unfortunately, we had one dissenter. Unfortunately, we're held hostage on Kehoe Avenue by this dissenter. We are tired of being held hostage. We're not asking you to pay our ransom. What we're asking you to do, Mr. Kundati, tear down that man. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Flo, please, and then followed by James Benjamin. And that'll conclude the cards.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And thank you again, Naomi, for all you've done over the years and everything that you do. It just transcends all generations. I live at 411 Kehoe Avenue, adjacent to the Kehoe ditch. And I pretty much think that my question was addressed already in regards to the impact that this revision would have on anything
that we've, to go forward with what we're going to do to mitigate erosion to our properties. And I believe you said that it wouldn't impact anything, it's just showing something on a map. Am I correct? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And City Attorney, would you respond? I don't think you're shuttling things around. It's a little more specific than that. Would you mind responding to the comment there?
Well, first of all, I want to be clear that there's a distinction between this and the very real erosion and flood problems that the Kehoe neighbors have expressed in many meetings, both at City Hall and in front of the City Council. They're probably aware, but just as a reminder, the council did budget $100,000 in this year's capital improvements program budget to conduct a study on the feasibility of measures to address those real concerns. And that process is underway. I understand there's a public meeting scheduled in the coming days to look over some conceptual ideas for moving forward with that project. So that's one issue, and I'm not quite certain what the other question was, but I'll be happy to respond to it. Just in response to this speaker, yes, this map amendment doesn't affect the regulations that apply in that area. It simply acknowledges existing biological conditions and features of the area that have been identified in other studies and reports.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. James Benjamin, please.
Good evening, council members. I'm James Benjamin. I live at 400 Pilarcitos Avenue, and I appreciate the chance to speak to you on this item. First, I want to thank staff, Dante, and the others for the revisions in the staff report. They respond to a letter that I wrote. And I won't, since I assume that you have a copy, as it would be a matter of the public record. If you don't, I'd ask that my letter become a part of the public record, since I didn't see it on the table here. But the revised project goes a long way to address the concerns I had in the draft staff report. There was one item, however, that was just a matter of information in the agenda item, and that was the map that describes where the Caltrans mitigation site is. I don't think there's any dispute about what the words in our settlement agreement are. And this, again, has nothing at all to do with the parts of the agreement that pertain to the Kehoe watercourse ditch, if you like, or the Lanster parcel. It has to do with the actual location of the Caltrans mitigation site. And since we all want to be working off the same information, I thought it would be helpful for you. Some of you, I think maybe Councilmember Patridge will recall the 1996 mitigation project, but for the rest of you who may not have been active on the City Council at that time, that I would provide you with some information to help us understand what that area really is. This is a copy of the Planning Commission report at which the item was approved. And as you'll see, if you turn to the highlighted section, there is a map called Exhibit B that describes what the area is. This is the site map. That would be the Caltrans mitigation site. And as you can see, it covers an area that is somewhat larger than the area that's described in the LCP exhibit. So you can read through that in some more detail, and that will make it clear. In addition, I've attached the statement of work that came from that project as it was approved. And if you turn to the final page of the thing that I just handed you, there's a description of the fact that activity took place at that location throughout that area. In other words, it wasn't just down in the area that is currently the wetland. So I think just as a matter of making sure we get as far as we can on the items that we have a shared understanding about, it's important for you to have all of the information that I was working with. I don't think this should be a surprise. This is completely consonant with the other term of our settlement agreement that describes the revegetation of the area that was used by the Coastside County Water District as a staging area. That area is in fact part of this. So I hope that that gives you some additional assistance. I know we're introducing the ordinance right now, but I want to be sure that we are all working off the same information. I'll close by also saying congratulations to Councilmember Patridge on her years of service, and thank you to Alan for his service as well, and congratulations to Councilmember Kowalczyk on his reelection. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments regarding this agenda item? It seemed like the city attorney explained it, hopefully for the betterment of all. And no comments, no questions. So this is just a reintroducing of an ordinance, amending. So what's the pleasure?
I would so move. The reintroduction.
It's been moved and seconded to reintroduce the ordinance amending the city's local coastal plan correctly in that paragraph. And any further comments or discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, so ordered 5-0, and that concludes our agenda for this evening, I believe, and so we will close the meeting at this time. Thank you.